The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it?
I knew you'd come.
Delete! 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 Delete!
Bring Freddy Krueger's world, Elm Street. We want to see Bray Wyatt's version of the Boiler Room.
My name is Dario Cueto. My relationship with the wrestlers is very special.
And he's hanging out with Masquerita Sagrada in what looks like his basement. And then his mom shows up with bagel bites. It's glorious.
Oh, that's awesome.
We are scientifically proven to be the best tag team, and not just in NXT, not just in the WWE, but in the entire universe.
It was for the fans. It was to be there present and them to see you and say, thank you, Kurt, one more time. And for me to say back to them, no, thank you. And it's also the fact that my three little kids have never seen me in the WWE before. For them to at least witness, even though I have a 5-month-old, for her to be there present at the Hall of Fame and to know that her dad, when she gets older, to know her dad was inducted to the Hall of Fame when she was there, that means the world to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the mat.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughan, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
Welcome, everybody, to Wrestling to the Max, episode 240, part 2, and this is the section of this episode that you've all been waiting for. Of course, I have too. This is the most exciting one besides actually doing the WrestleMania review. It says the show where we get a chance to set up everything that's going to be going on at WrestleMania weekend. That's right. We got Takeover Orlando we're going to be talking about. We're going to give you all our thoughts and, of course, all our predictions about that, plus the same as well with WrestleMania 33. And we've got a lot of matches to break down with that one, trust me, and a lot of intrigue to go along with it. So we are so excited. This is going to be a great episode. Plus, we got some excellent news topics to jump into, like Seth Rollins. What's his status for WrestleMania? We know he's going to be there, and we know he's going to probably be in the ring, but how much can he do? He's been sick and things like that, so we're going to be getting into that, plus a lot of other news topics like returning superstars and some big situations going down still with promotions like Ring of Honor. Of course, we're also going to be talking about Impact Wrestling. They had a TV taping that we need to get into as well, so we'll be doing all that, plus crowning a Superstar of the Week. Boy, a lot to do, but a lot of fun. I am just super, super stoked for it. Of course, I'm your host, Gary Vaughan. Along with me is the guy that's always feeling froggy, Mr. Paul Leazar.
Ribbit, if you will.
And, of course, the ultimate thrill ride himself, Mr. Sean Garmer.
Wow.
Cue the Val Venus music.
Yeah.
I can't even do it. I can't even remember how it goes. Hello, ladies. Oh, sorry. I just had to throw both those. Oh, going back to The Office, huh? I love it. No, I had to throw those two, little tidbits in there because that's what we heard on Monday. Monday was all about the ultimate thrill ride. And SmackDown, my God, I was thinking, how many times can they say, "Are you feeling froggy?" I thought that was their new catchphrase, so I just thought that was kind of interesting to throw in there with it. But guys, I'm super stoked for this episode. It's kind of fun to joke around and everything, but this episode's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, we want you guys to also know that we will be doing a lot of things going on this weekend. We're, of course, going to be doing reviews for both Takeover Orlando and WrestleMania 33. The goal is, of course, right after Takeover on Saturday night, we'll be recording and getting you into all that takes place with that show, and, of course, giving you our thoughts right then. And, of course, the next night, on Sunday night, we'll be doing the same for WrestleMania 33. A lot of excitement, a lot of things going on, so you need to be looking out for all that content. If you want to find that content, make sure you go check out W2Mnet.com. Of course, you can find all the written content and, of course, with the podcast itself, along with, if you know about us on iTunes or Stitcher, make sure you go subscribe if you haven't already. That'll, of course, get you all that content I just mentioned without you even having to go search for it. You don't even have to go search for us. You just go and look us up and click. There you go. You got the content right in your dock. But, yeah, I mean, guys, I'm super stoked, as you can tell. I just keep talking and talking. But I do want to throw one thing out for a guy that's a special friend of our podcast, Mr. Randy Isabel. Of course, me and Sean do a podcast during football season called Football to the Max. He's our co-host. Awesome guy. We love him to death and his family. And he's actually going to be having a baby girl. So we want to throw a big congratulations to him. That guy is a super cool guy. His of course, girlfriend, I believe, I don't know if it's his fiance or not, but Haley is awesome. She's super cool, and so we want to wish them a big congratulations. But I talked a lot, Paul, Sean. This is exciting. How excited are you about this weekend?
Does half count? Like, I'm halfway into WrestleMania. I'm always excited for TakeOver, but as far as Sunday goes, like, I'm like, meh is as far as I got,
That's how I'm feeling too. Kind of meh right now. I think when we get to the day of is when I'll get excited and everything. And it's always that, it's like that time, right? You get the pre-show starts, the matches start. It's like, all right, I'm into this. It's WrestleMania. Let's see what they're gonna give us. And I'm totally waiting for that day. But right now, I'm not just like, hey. I'm totally going crazy for this right now.
You know what? Go ahead.
It's like you're gonna have to go work, and it's gonna be like the longest shift ever because there's not a lot to do. And WrestleMania is 6 hours, and we get to sit there and watch all of it. And boy, those first 2 hours are probably just going to drag on forever.
Oh man!
Plus, you've got a musical interlude in there somewhere.
Oh Jesus Christ! Kill me now.
The bathroom break. I mean, thank God you got one. So there you go.
Yeah, at least, like you said, you got a designated bathroom break. Go make you a sandwich or whatever it is you're going to eat that night. Go get you some more pizza, whatever, and just come back when it's over.
Yeah, see, there you go. I mean, they at least were kind enough to put that in there for you, and hopefully a lot of these matches are going to be exciting where we're not having to take too many breaks. But I'm getting scared that some of these, I will be taking some, sandwich breaks or just going and playing with my daughter for like 5-10 minutes until it's over. But we'll see. I doubt that's going to happen. I have to cover it, so I can't go take breaks like that. But sometimes I want to. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I think what rejuvenated me and really has gotten me excited, NXT TakeOver, it's a given. That's going to be a lot of fun. But WrestleMania, I think watching on the network this past week, they did that WrestleMania Monday 24. And I watched it. Sean's like, hey, watch it. It kind of got me motivated to watch it. Now, after watching that and kind of seeing the cool surprises that get you going at WrestleMania, some of the cool surprises that get you going even on that Monday night following, it kind of makes me think, man, well, what can I see at WrestleMania? Now I kind of have that feeling. So the card may not look so beautiful, but I think at the same time, it's still WrestleMania. You got to be pumped about that. So,
I will, seeing all the set photos always makes me kind of excited. Sometimes the sets are very meh, but it's still, hey, look, they're setting up for it, and the day's coming, and all these other things. And I gotta tell you what, the pictures we've seen so far, I really like what we've seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks awesome. It really, really does. And Sean posted a picture this morning on our Wrestling to the Max Facebook group, which if you're not a part of, please go join. Trust me, lots of great content. And, of course, if Sean's not doing it, other people are up there uploading all the latest news, all the latest pictures, videos, and all that stuff in the world of wrestling. So go definitely join. But, yeah, Sean, I mean, that set looks really, really cool. It makes me kind of think to myself, man, they're really trying to amp this thing up to the highest level.
Yeah, it certainly feels like they are taking that thrill ride thing to another level. It looks like a theme park. The ramp looks ridiculously long as always, and then there's a ring on top of a ring. So I have a feeling that Shane McMahon might try to jump off that thing.
Oh, good God!
I'm really upset, Sean. You missed a chance to say to the max, and you glazed right over it.
I'm trying to not do the shameless thing there. It crossed my mind at once.
I knew it. I knew it did. There's going to be definitely a lot of great stuff to look forward to, this weekend. And so, why delay any further? Let's go ahead and jump into one of the events that I think we all are really excited about. One of those events that we almost always are assured it's going to be pretty darn awesome. And that's, of course, an NXT Takeover. And this week, it is NXT Takeover Orlando, a really special show. And we're going to have some pretty interesting matches on this card. So let's go ahead and delve into it and get into some of our predictions and kind of our thoughts on what's going to happen here. One of the interesting matches that we're going to have here, of course, is Ty Dillinger, along with No Way Jose, Roderick Strong, and Ruby Riott. They'll be facing Sanity. And this is one that I think a lot of us have kind of seen a little bit of a preview to, but I think this actual match, especially adding Ruby Riott to this, is going to be really, really fun. What do you think about this one, Paul?
I'm actually really excited for this. It's a good 8-man tag. I think you got a lot of talent in there. Really excited to see if they let Heidi Lovelace / Ruby Riott sort of really look strong in all this, but there's a lot of moving pieces here. There's a lot of very athletic big people. I would expect the Moon here. I'm going to say Sanity goes home with this one, though.
I think when you have all four of those individuals there and you still don't know if Ty Dillinger is eventually going to finally make that jump, I feel like you give him one more loss here to have Sanity look good, look strong as a team, and there you go. I think No Way Jose, Roderick Strong, only one of them can take the pin. I think Ty takes the pin, and you have the other ones not at least get pinned, and that protects them a little bit.
Yeah, looking at this, I kind of think to myself, how do I want it to work out, and then how do I kind of logically think it's going to work out? And in a way, strangely, I kind of like Sanity. I have a lot of potential in mind, at least, my own thought process of how great they can be. And losing to this team, I guess you call it Team Dillinger, I think wouldn't really do them any favors at all. And logically, to me, that says a lot. So I am going to go Sanity. I agree with you guys. I think this team, though, Ty Dillinger's team, Roderick Strong, they're all going to look good. No Way Jose. I think the addition of Ruby Riott, like I said before, is going to add something we haven't seen before. I think it's going to make it special. And I think it also sets up a great feud for Nikki Cross. I think that's going to be something that we can definitely look forward to in the future. I think we're all in agreement. Sanity is going to probably take this one home, which I'm okay with. We have, Cien Almas also on this card, facing a new addition to NXT, Aleister Black. Sean, this one, could be interesting.
Yeah, this could be pretty good. With Almas getting better every time we see him, and he's finally kind of embracing this heel role for himself. We saw a little, if you never watched Tommy End before, you got to see a little bit of him during the UK the UK tournament thing with that match against Neville. It depends on what you're going to do, but we've seen almost have these long matches with Oney Lorcan. I think you could be in for another one of these with Aleister Black obviously getting the win to have him look strong in his debut, but I hope it's a really good match.
I think it will be. Last Takeover almost absolutely stole the show with Roderick Strong, and while Aleister Black / Tommy End is a bit more of a striker, I still think that big match stealing potential is there. Aleister, I mean, clearly is probably going to get the win here, but getting there, watching Almas do all the things, I've very slowly come around to him in this heel role. I like him, but for sure, I mean, Black getting the debut win is almost really, I think, a sure thing. Do you think, though, it's a mistake to have Aleister debut against Almas just because Almas doesn't really need to be taking losses right now? He's finally starting to get somewhere.
It's weird you say that. I kind of agree. In fact, when I just look at this on paper, I think to myself, "Oh, an easy win for Aleister Black! Yay!" And that's not good. That's terrible to say because we've seen Almas lose so much, and you kind of feel like, well, what's it hurt for him to lose another one? Mm-hmm. I don't like that. I think we were kind of getting on a good pace here with Almas in a way because they were starting to have him look better. You could take him more serious now. But I definitely agree. I don't think it's a good matchup for that reason for Almas. Outside of that, okay, it's going to be cool. But I don't know, Sean. Maybe I'm thinking of it weird. I just think it's not good for Almas himself.
No, it's not. I mean, we talked about this. This looks bad on him to lose when you're trying to develop this gimmick for him, when you're trying to get him somewhere. He's a heel. Him looking good in a loss is not what heels are really supposed to. That's for the faces. Mm-hmm. The whole, I don't lose anything in losing because I look so good in the match. That's, he's either supposed to be dominant or he's supposed to be a chicken shit guy and he loses here and there or whatever. And it's sort of like he's in between and they don't know what to do with him, so and they know Ty Dillinger's going to be going upward at some point here, so they need another fall guy, and this is weird for him to be taking that role when you could use someone else. It's not like Almas is this beloved guy that if he loses it's no big deal like Dillinger was or Dillinger became. This is hurting him. And you want people to care when he comes out. You want people to do something with this character, care about this character one way or the other. And I mean, I appreciate that he's, being mindful of, Los Ingobernables being out there and taking moves and things like that the crowd might know. But none of that matters if he's just jobbing out.
I will say this because I agree with you for the most part, and if this was the main roster, this would be almost an absolute death sentence for him. It's NXT. It's a more indie crowd, and if they get behind you, they usually stay behind you, whether you're losing all the time or not. And the best example we have, of course, is Tyler Breeze, who was filling this role before he got brought up, in that people still absolutely loved the guy and loved seeing him perform and all that. And I think by the time he was slotted into the role, you knew that NXT Championship was pretty far from his grip. Almas hasn't exactly been slotted into that role yet, although it looks prevalent that that's what they have in mind for him. I think if however many NXT call-ups you get, he's got to be in line. He's their third most over heel. He's got to be in line for something down the road.
Yeah. I think so. I would look forward to seeing Almas do some things down the road that really mean something, actually, instead of just him kind of floundering here and there. And that would be the ultimate goal. It just makes you really fear the direction they have him going, especially when they put him in these types of situations, Mm-hmm. So, I mean, needless to say, I think all three of us really do like Almas. I think all of us really would like to see him go in a better path. But if they're not going to put the effort into it, it's kind of hard for us to put the effort into being excited about him in general. So But yeah, I mean, I think also we all kind of think Aleister Black. I mean, once again, it's bad for him too because if Almas was to win, which would be amazing for Almas, we wouldn't take Aleister Black serious at all. So he's got to win that. It makes just all sense in the world. Let's move on and talk tag team action here. We're going to have the tag champions come, and that is, of course, the Authors of Pain. They'll be taking on DIY as well as the Revival in a triple threat match here. And I think all of us, kind of talked about on our NXT review this week about how much fun this is going to be, how much of an exciting match that I think we're all looking forward to. Looking at this, I like all three teams. I really don't hate any of these teams. I think all of them could be great champions. For me personally, I'm going to stick with the Authors of Pain. I just think at the end of the day, they're going to find a way to win. That's just me. How do you feel about it, Paul?
I'm right there with you. I think it makes the most sense to have the Authors of Pain retain. Keep the strong powerhouse look going for as long as you can until you have that team ready to beat them, much like you had sort of with the Ascension, although I think people might argue now in hindsight that the Lucha Dragons probably weren't the team to do it, but it's not like NXT had any else at the time. I look for each one to sort of slot into their role. Obviously, the Revival are going to be the chicken shit guys and come in and break up pins and all this other stuff. You're going to have DIY taking a lot of punishment. You're going to have AOP looking super strong. I think AOP pins the Revival, though. That way you still have DIY getting a singles rematch down the line if you choose to go that direction.
Yeah, I think definitely what Paul said makes sense here. You have Authors of Pain retain. Revival are seemingly going to the main roster, and at this point it's beyond, they need to go. There's nothing for them to do. DIY kind of have to stick around for the lack of tag teams that NXT has, especially with, TM61 having one of their guys injured, and, who knows if anyone's coming in relief for the tag teams anytime soon. Whereas with the women, we know people are coming with the tournament and everything else, and, some of the women that have signed or you think are going to sign, whereas the tag teams is just a total crapshoot at this point. DIY have held the titles already. Them getting some kind of feel-good win, I don't think does anything for Authors of Pain. You can have DIY go up to the next takeover, still sort of challenging for those. Or you can finally do the Gargano versus Ciampa story that's sort of been brewing there at times for them. So it's whatever they want to do. I could totally see Authors of Pain kind of being another Ascension where they just kind of keep the titles until they finally figure out that there's a team that's really worthy of beating them.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad you brought up, Sean, about that whole Gargano and Ciampa thing because, there could be that possibility of something between them happens because of this match. And I don't know that they're going to start it that way and that feud's going to begin, but if it does, it would make all the sense in the world to do it when they get so close to winning the tag titles, and then the next thing you know, something happens where one causes the other to mishap and lose. So that could be an interesting factor that we could all look into and see. It may or may not happen, but I think it could definitely be a big part of this match, and I just think overall it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm super stoked about it. Let's move on and talk about the NXT Women's Championship match with Asuka coming in and facing off against Ember Moon. And this is one that, Paul, you said that could steal the show. What do you think is going to happen here?
Oh, man. If you listen to the NXT review we did before this, I continue to go back and forth on this. And if you go even further back, you'll hear me say I was so definite that Ember Moon is going to walk out the champion that I may or may not eat a hat. I don't know. We do so many shows now. For me, whenever I got this match for the roundtable, I'm very interested in the match. I think they've done a great job in booking it simply just because you have two undefeateds. They both look incredibly strong. They've both pretty much beaten everybody in the division worth talking about multiple times, except each other. I'm leaning towards Asuka retaining now, especially with all the news of her not getting moved up, seeming to be a thing now. So the point I bring up is if you're not ready to put it on Ember Moon, don't do it. You know what you have with Asuka. You know she's a draw. She's a big draw for NXT no matter where they go. And at this point, if I'm backstage with the book, it's how much do I think I can get out of doing the move here or doing it later and continuing to have Ember Moon try to prove herself against Asuka, or if the big head of Asuka has finally gotten too much and you're ready to try to tell a different story with her. And that's what I'm weighing. And I'd be willing to go with Asuka more than I think Ember Moon at this point.
Yeah, it's weird because I think when we all thought, and look, there's still a possibility that Asuka shows up in that SmackDown Women's Title match. So I'm not totally saying that Asuka could retain, but it doesn't matter if Asuka retains or not. She could still show up in that match. So I think certainly for me, what I look at is the story is Ember Moon trying to prove that Asuka's gotten too big for her head. But I think the story doesn't work very well if you're going with that if Asuka loses on the first try. I think you need to continue, and NXT is a place for this, where even though you do know that you have women coming in, the rank of women behind Ember and Asuka is a level much lower. So you need this program to go, at least for another takeover. And I think you have Asuka win here, get the full year as champion, and then you have people really rally around Ember to beat Asuka, and you can have Asuka fully, I guess, embrace the heelness, or whatever you want to say here, but I just don't know if this works if you just have Ember beat her right here, unless you've already made up your mind that Asuka's coming up and you have to have her lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. You both bring up some good points, and I'm looking at this maybe in a different fashion. I think you guys are far from being right. I look at this though as, if Asuka is moving up, or even if Asuka's hanging around just a little longer, what does it really hurt for Ember Moon to win? I don't think a lot. I think really for Asuka to be surprised and get beaten, I think it would maybe switch some things up and maybe change Asuka's direction, maybe make her even more violent than she already is. Maybe make her kind of understand where she went wrong. And not only that, I kind of think back at the fact that, we also have some other major players, that, kind of wish they were in that title scene, and maybe someone comes out and distracts Asuka. I don't want that to happen, but I'm just saying, what if that was to happen? Maybe Billie Kay or somebody causes there to be a little bit of a problem, and then Asuka gets distracted, and she goes on a different path than going back to the title. I don't know that's going to happen. I'm just trying to make this, in my mind, have another path, and so I'm going to go with Ember Moon. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm just going to choose Ember Moon. So, but yeah, it means we got one more match on this card to discuss, and that is, of course, the NXT Championship. And this is one that's going to be really fun, I think, also to watch, exciting. You're going to have Bobby Roode, the champion, face off against Shinsuke Nakamura. And this is also going to be the one that's not just going to be a battle in the match, but it's also going to be a battle of the entrances. Which one's going to be longer? Which one's going to be more extravagant? I think that's what we're going to have to see here. So it'll be kind of fun to see, who does win the battle of the entrance. But, Sean, out of this, what do you think is going to happen?
I think that Bobby Roode is winning. I think that once again you are weighing your options here of who you're bringing up, and look, while it's not a done deal, I think Nakamura could certainly win it back. Right now is the time. I get it that And Triple H has already gone on record to say that they don't keep people down in NXT for whatever reason or whatever. They're in NXT until they feel like they need to be called up. So you're not keeping Nakamura there because of you need to sell tickets to the next set of whatever tour. You can still have Nakamura go on the UK tour, whether he's with the main roster or not. It's time. There is nothing else. I mean, other than doing a Cassius Ohno match, which, yeah, it would be great to see, and you could do it on NXT before he leaves completely, or you could still have him be on the next takeover and have the match just to say bye or whatever, kind of like they did with Finn Balor. I think that you're missing an opportunity here. He's not going to get a bigger reaction than he would on the SmackDown or the Raw after WrestleMania. He is going to be in front of the people that are going to know him best. He needs to debut in one of those slots. And for me, that means he has to lose to Bobby Roode. I think the way that you had Bobby Roode win for Nakamura to win it back would be kind of dumb after that. I think Bobby Roode needs to solidify that he is champion, and you move on from there.
I agree completely. I think Bobby Roode wins here as well. The thing I'm watching this match for, though, is exactly how Shinsuke is going to try to fire back after what happened to him at the last takeover and all that good stuff. And hopefully we get a clean finish with Bobby sound. I mean, it doesn't need to be sound, but at least getting a clean win. And finally making it look like he deserves the belt more than he has so far, because I can't remember if he beat Cassius clean or not. I think he did. Either way, I think Bobby needs a big, strong win on the big stage.
Let's not repeat the TNA mistakes.
Right,
Bobby Roode doesn't have to win clean.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Shinsuke, it's time for him to be on the roster. Whether it's SmackDown or whether it's Raw, sort of secondary at this point. Just have him be there. You could even have a story about where he's going to sign. I'd be okay with that too. Yeah.
I will also say that, not that it really means anything, but when they asked, they had to bring it to the table from Orlando that aired on the network yesterday. When they asked Graves and JBL the one person that they'd love to see on the main roster right now, they both said Nakamura. So, and they sort of shoot on that show. They didn't have a bad thing to say about the guy. I feel like if you're having people that are on your main roster saying this, it's obvious that, look, when you got nothing for him to do anymore, he needs to be gone instead of kind of sitting around like the Revival kind of have.
Yeah, exactly. I think the same. And, they really need to get that process going. I think it'd be a great surprise, of course, WrestleMania or even just the Monday following. I think it'd be also something that I think would make Shinsuke Nakamura personally happy, because when he was originally signed, they said, hey, don't worry, you'll be in a part of NXT for a short time, we're going to get you on the big show, that's where we want you to be one of our major superstars. And I think that was a huge selling point to him, so they've got to pay that off. They can't just keep him down and just wait around too long, because he's going to start getting restless. So this is going to be a good deal if that does happen, and that means that Bobby Roode, for me too, has to win this match. I think it'll be awesome. I think they're going to put a lot of work into it. It's just going to be, an excellent main event if you ask me, but I do feel like Bobby Roode's going to win, and he's got to win clean. You guys just said it. We can't have that TNA stuff happen again. Nope. It's going to be clean, and Roode looks great coming out of this match, and I think even entering the match, both these guys will look great, because those entrances will be probably about 5 minutes apiece. So, but yeah, of course, that finishes out our NXT Takeover Orlando card. So all of us are looking forward to it. Make sure you go check out the review show. We'll be doing it right after the show takes place on Saturday night. Of course, it'll be available for everybody Sunday morning. If you don't get a chance to catch us live, it'll be right there in your dock, and you can go check it out before you get ready for actually WrestleMania. And at forward, guys, we jump into the WrestleMania 33 card. I think it's only appropriate that we jump into some news topics. There's been lots of news going on in the world of wrestling, even though it is a WrestleMania week. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's jump into some quick hits right after this.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
All right.
Okay. Well, the first thing I think we need to talk about, and it's WrestleMania related, is Seth Rollins. Now, we all know that, Rollins has legitimately been dealing with some problems with his knee. Of course, kind of re-aggravating the injury that he had a year ago. And it's been a long process for him, but he's trying to be a part of this WrestleMania, but not only because he missed last year, but because, they want to have a payoff for this Seth Rollins and Triple H feud. And he's going to be having a match, but the same point we're having issues is the fact that he is injured still. And we're also getting word that he has got a cold and he's had a fever. Not feeling so great this week. So we've got to ask ourselves the question of what kind of match are we getting here out of Triple H and Seth Rollins? How are they going to protect Seth Rollins so much that it's going to be kind of, I don't want to say a pointless match, but it'd be a match that we really are not excited about? Or do you think they can find a way to salvage it? I mean, Paul, what do you think is going to take place out of all this?
Man, I'm expecting something completely overbooked, to be honest with you. You'll probably get a lot of Triple H working Seth's knee over for sure. A lot of other things, but I mean, I think Samoa Joe run-in is pretty much set. I would even go so far as to say Finn Balor run-in is pretty much set too. Whether you have a lot of other pieces in play here or not, I don't know, but with him being this down, do you think they go over the top with the overbooking or leave it as what they got? I don't know. I guess it all depends on just how Seth is feeling up to the moment they go out through the curtain.
Yeah, I think that's obvious as far as what they do. Joe's going to be involved no matter what, because I think Rollins and Joe is sort of what they're going to be doing after, Extreme Rules and Beyond and all that. So I think him getting involved here is for sure, but I think Rollins has to win in some kind of solid manner, unless he's just totally gimpy or whatever, where you're going to have to do it with some smoke and mirrors, but I don't think they would even have him go out there if he wouldn't be able to wrestle pretty well. So I just, you can't have too much, because then it makes Rollins look bad, and you already have problems with Rollins looking bad.
Yeah, very true. I mean, that is a good point, and you guys bring up some really solid thoughts here. I'm kind of going at it and saying to myself, of course, I think you're going to have Samoa Joe. You'll probably have maybe even another surprise. I mean, with Triple H, let's be honest, they kind of tend to do that. We saw, with him and Sting, all of a sudden it's DX versus NWO, right? And some other situations like that at WrestleMania. They always amp it up. I mean, heck, it wouldn't even surprise me if somehow we saw like a part of Evolution pop up just because they can, So who knows? I think it's going to be a match that they're going to try to cater towards protecting Rollins as much as possible, but at the same point, get us a match that doesn't, completely take away from that feud. I think they'll try as much as they can to stay within their bounds, to give us what we want, maybe get that payoff that we've wanted, but at the same time, man, find a way to protect Rollins without him looking bad. So it's going to be interesting. And, of course, later on we'll get into our predictions on that match. But before we do, we got some other interesting news here. I want to talk about Bill Goldberg. And why do I want to talk about Goldberg? Well, because he's kind of stirring the pot once again. We had him on the Edge and Christian show, and that show, is a new podcast that just came out recently. So they had Bill Goldberg on there. They wanted to talk to him about, how he was feeling and all that about being back in the WWE. And he was kind of controversial. He kind of said that he was miserable. And that's an interesting comment. And it kind of, goes along with a few other things. But, I mean, for the most part, this is kind of a shock because, we've heard him on JR's podcast who kind of acted like everything was fine, everything is cool. He's kind of said in other places, but this is kind of the one place he was just kind of saying, look, I'm bloated every day, just kind of bringing up a lot of different things about how he's been having to take care of himself way more than he has in the past. So I don't know, Sean. This is kind of the reason why I've in the past had problems with Goldberg, because it's almost like when I think I like him, it's almost like he's like, I hate wrestling. It's almost what he tells you every time. It's just.
Well, I kind of understand his point in that if you're watching this show and you're watching Goldberg and you're wanting to see Goldberg and Goldberg's wanting to show his child and his wife that, he can still do it and everything else, I think you're wanting to see Goldberg the same way you saw him back in the day. And I think that's his point. He has to overwork himself because he can't just go out there and look like whatever. Right? He has to sort of still look like the Goldberg you remember, even though he's much older. So he has to just do way more than he really should, and that's why he's saying he's miserable. And I can understand from that aspect. If he was just going out there and he didn't care about the way his body looked and then, okay, well, I'm just going out there, I'm Goldberg, I'm using my name, then I think it would be kind of just stupid. But I think that's part of it, too, is that he's been given all this because Vince is seeing how hard he's worked. And everybody else is seeing that too. It's not just, he part of this run is that. I don't think he would be getting what he's getting if he didn't put the work in to do that. You can say what you want about, well, he doesn't wrestle matches that are longer than 20 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever, but look, I mean, he did his part. The fans are enjoying him. The run has worked. Not a whole lot you can say bad about the guy. I applaud him for being honest.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. What he said got taken way out of context, and he had to come out and correct it and all that good stuff. But if it's this much of a drag on you physically, and you're not a young man, I really question whether he wants to keep doing this after WrestleMania, WWE, we've heard on multiple occasions, is totally fine with him coming back and doing more. And to that extent, with what they're planning on doing, I think having him do a match with Roman could be worthwhile. But at that same time, I think Goldberg really needs to ask himself whether he wants to keep doing it or not. If he's going out of his way to mention just how hard it is on him physically, more for health reasons than for anything else. Because obviously he's shown you mental toughness and all that stuff. He's willing to put up with it because it's making his family happy. There's a lot of other people that are happy to see him back around. He's getting good reactions. Like it is working for him. But just as far as putting that strain on your body at 50 plus, it ain't easy. And it's most certainly could prove to be detrimental to him down the line, obviously.
I'd agree with you, but I think also what he said, which is the most poignant thing for me, is he looks at it like, well, I make so much money, this is worth it, because when I get upset and I want to reward myself, I can just go buy a car. Like, when you can be miserable, but you can also make yourself happy in an instant, how miserable are you really?
I would say pretty miserable until he has the keys in his hand.
Yeah, that's so true. I think, a lot of wrestling fans kind of took a little bit offense to it because of the fact that they've heard this guy in the past really trash wrestling, just really down it. And I think that's kind of maybe where I come from too, because this guy was honestly, he likes to use the word hero, right? He wants to be the guy that you see with the American flag waving behind him, and you just think he's Superman. At one point in my life, I did look at that guy like that. I really did. Goldberg, I could care less about Steve Austin back in the day. Steve Austin was nothing to me. It was Bill Goldberg. This is the guy that breathed fire and smoke. You saw him push the smoke out of his nose, and he was a monster. And that's who this guy was to me. And I get that. He wants his kid to look at him the same way. And his kid does, I'm sure. And I think it's great. Now, I'm an older man now, and I don't look at guys like that anymore. I mean, I think there's awesome people out there in the world that do great things, but I also don't have that whole hero complex. I'm not 14 anymore. But, looking at this, and, the reason we do take it so close is because of him saying miserable. I think he even uses a little bit more gentle term of, well, this is challenging, or I'm struggling, but I'm going to survive. Something like that. We're not miserable. That just sounds so ugly. It sounds terrible. And I think maybe that's why we're getting that offensive feel to it. And I often think to myself, okay, Goldberg, if this was not professional wrestling, let's take this and say this was what you loved and thing you wanted to do most of all, and that was be an NFL superstar. That's what he wanted to be. That's all he's ever wanted to be. He's said that himself. He wanted to play in the NFL. He probably wanted to play 15 years in the NFL. I think if they would have had that announced, the same interview with him and says, okay, Goldberg, you're playing your last year. You're trying to go win a Super Bowl. How do you feel about how do you feel? I don't think he would ever have said miserable. I think he would have said, well, it's difficult, but I'm getting through it every day. I'm willing to do as much as the coach is asking me to do. And I think in wrestling, he doesn't love wrestling. He really does. This is about a payday. This is about making his son happy. Other than that, he really does not like wrestling all that much. I just don't think it's in his heart. I don't know if it really ever was. And so I think that's why we're getting this reaction from Bill Goldberg. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know him personally. But that's the way I feel about it. I just don't think it's about that for him. And I think that's why he's able to just throw miserable around freely, Mm-hmm. So it's, who knows, but it's just, something to kind of throw out there. I know people have heard that podcast, or you've heard about it, and you're hearing Goldberg say that. So that's just kind of our thoughts on it. I think it's kind of interesting to kind of get into a little bit here. Let's talk about something else that's kind of cool, and it's a guy that's actually returning. We see how Bill Goldberg returned, but we're going to see Shelton Benjamin return sooner than later. That's right. He's officially cleared. He is healthy once again. And, Paul, this is a good deal. I'm excited about it.
I'm very interested to see what they do with him now as opposed to whenever they originally had planned on debuting him. The world of SmackDown was much more open then, and that's not to say that it isn't now, but it's certainly more firmed up as to who is where and who is doing what. And I don't know if that same role for Shelton is still there or not, but I'm excited to see him come back, if that makes any sense. I want to see what they do with him. I just don't know if it's going to be as much as they maybe had planned for him to do whenever he was originally supposed to be there.
Yeah, I wonder if WWE takes their time bringing him in, or he does an NXT run now, or what's going to happen with him. But they were promoting him big time when the draft happened. Maybe there's rumors that they might do a supplemental draft that's going to switch people around if maybe they bring him in for that. But we'll see. I'd like to see him come back. It kind of sucked that injury makes it to where he doesn't show up in WWE, and that'd be kind of unfortunate for him. Before we move on, I think, speaking of unfortunate, this is now the third week in a row that Mauro Ranallo has not been on SmackDown, and he's suffering that depression really bad, and it has to do with JBL, and JBL, his comments he made on that Bring It to the Table kind of sort of started things, and then also apparently JBL really did not care for at all the Morrow tweeting out the Observer Award where he won Best Announcer again. And then Ronaldo tweeted out that jealousy is a drug, and sort of directed it towards JBL without saying it. So apparently it's an unwritten rule that if your promotion is not doing the awards, you're not supposed to be promoting yourself as a winner. And so JBL took offense to that or something. But so it seems like those two have some kind of tumultuous relationship, which might have expedited Morrow having his bout with depression, which he's had several times before, but this is kind of extended. The other ones he's had in other, like when he's had to do boxing or UFC, have been kind of small. So they're obviously kind of worried about it, but on this week's SmackDown, they didn't even say anything about him not being there, so that was kind of worrisome. I hate that he may not be at WrestleMania because all this is going on, but pretty shitty on JBL, honestly. I understand maybe he didn't know about Morrow having the depression and everything, but some of the things just, don't need to be done.
JBL don't care about any of that, really. And that's what's so crazy, but this guy has been well known for bullying, well known for saying whatever he feels, and that's his prerogative. Everybody's got one, right? And so it's probably just a bad mixture, really, honestly. I think looking back at it now, this may not be the best fit for him, at least with JBL. Maybe with Cole or somebody else that, he can be. Because if they're going to have this whole thing where they're going to have 4 announcers or however many, by God, you just got to switch it up. But I just don't think it works too well with a guy like JBL because he's not really, gonna baby you. He never has babied anyone when he was a wrestler. He's not gonna baby anyone when he's an announcer either. So, I'm not saying that Ronaldo needs to be baby. Maybe that makes me sound like a bad person for saying that, but you have to kind of walk a little bit more softly around Ronaldo because he does have those mental issues, and he, may take something the wrong way like he has, and now he's, at home on WrestleMania, and that's not good. That's a really kind of sad thing. So I just hope he gets better. That's my bottom line. I just hope Ronaldo feels better.
Yeah, Morrow's already said he won't be at WrestleMania on his Twitter, so don't expect him on Sunday. JBL seems like a very shitty person in all this, and don't get me wrong, he's an old school kind of guy. It's you, like, that mentality is be tough and just that's it. You just be tough. Not always the case when you suffer from extended bouts of depression and bipolar disorder, which he also suffers from. So, like you said, maybe he didn't know. Whatever. It seems like a very petty reason to get upset with somebody. Simply because he won an award that realistically doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, that's the truth, it's a shame, especially since these guys have to work so close together. Hopefully they can resolve their issues, and I think if, WWE wants to continue having Mauro Ranallo around or doing whatever they need to do to make things better, they do need to reevaluate, maybe even sit these guys down and move from there, We'll see. We'll do some other quick news topics here really quickly, kind of get some rapid hits going here, guys. Noam Dar is hurt. So we just saw him wrestle against Austin Aries, and that's actually when the injury took place.
Yeah, whether I didn't know whether the injury was fake or not by the time we got to 205 Live, and it's actually real. They don't know what's wrong with him, although a lot of the stuff I've read says he's getting evaluated this Sunday and that they're going to see what's wrong. So it doesn't sound too serious if they're waiting till Sunday, but you never know.
Hopefully he gets better, but don't know if he was really supposed to be doing anything for WrestleMania anyway. So
Yeah, it just makes it tougher for him to sign autographs at an Access. So, not really.
True.
You know someone who needs to get better? John Cena. And what I mean by that is John Cena needs to get better at selling merchandise because Roman Reigns is now the number one selling guy for merch in the WWE.
I mean, so much for them wanting to turn him heel or anything, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, the push is working to some degree. I think that's really all the nice things I can say.
I mean, look, he's the most pushed guy. I think they probably, very much like Cena, they have new merch for him constantly. So that inflates the numbers a bit. But look, he's a guy that gets attention. As you saw on Raw, the women certainly like him, which I'm sure that helps. And the kids like him too. So they're merchandise drivers, and that helps.
Yeah, definitely. And it also, like she just pointed out, Sean, I mean, there's plenty of merchandise out there. John Cena has this, now Roman Reigns does, where they have every piece of merchandise you can find, and other wrestlers don't have that opportunity. You know, I'm sure Heath Slater has a T-shirt and maybe one thing besides the T-shirt. And so it's kind of an unfair advantage, but, I mean, WWE gets what they want, right? And that's, they want him to be the number one seller. They found a way to do it. Let's talk about the fact that the UK wrestlers from over, the pond are now going to be a part of Access, of course, and this is really cool, as they'll be working that event. And we're also getting word that now they'll be getting offers from WWE to be a part of that UK promotion. So, I mean, if they choose to do that, that'll be an interesting thing. What do you think about this?
The big thing I think to take away from this is that a lot of the big names on here work progress more often than not. Jimmy Havoc, Mark Haskins, Jenny, and Tony Storm for sure. Travis Banks sort of works everywhere, and TK Cooper is somebody who I'm not overly familiar with. But the big names on there are Haskins and Havoc, who are big stars in the UK scene right now. So I would say sort of a coup if they manage to get them. For sure, especially Mark Haskins, who has really come a long way from the beginning of a lot of the indie outbreak on the UK all the way up to the celebrated status it has now.
Yeah, I mean, this is great that you're going to be able to fill the UK promotion with more great talent. I mean, so This is the cool thing for them. We kind of talked about this possibly happening, and hey, if they sign, then great. If not, look, you got a way to increase your indie press, right?
Yeah, for sure. And one other piece of news before we jump into some WrestleMania 33 talk. Let's get into the fact that Flo Slam apparently tried to purchase Ring of Honor from Sinclair. And Sinclair said, no, thank you. Now, later on down the line, Flo Slam has tried to get Ring of Honor to go on their streaming service. And once again, Ring of Honor said, no, thank you. How do you feel about that?
I think the reason I wanted to talk about this was because we talked so much about Flo Slam needing big-name promotions to really make it worth the price. And to be fair, what they've done so far is they've gotten a lot of name promotions, right? And a lot of promotions that are either up and coming and making a big name for themselves or have already done so. If Ring of Honor said no, and from sounds and rumblings, PWG has also said no because it would hurt the DVD market that they have and everything. How big do you think Evolve is the biggest they ever get?
Yeah, with more promotions kind of doing their own thing as far as streaming services go, I don't know how much more big you can get. You can keep getting all the small indies you want in America, and perhaps you get some of the, you might get a French-Japanese promotion or something like that, but all the big ones are more likely to kind of start their own service than join Float Slam,
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And, I think Flow Slam definitely brings a lot of great content. But, I mean, for Ring of Honor, like they said, it doesn't really do them any favors to do this. They can do their own thing. They already have their service of their own where you can go check out all their TV tapings and buy their pay-per-views. So, I mean, really, it works against them if they're having
but they need to
this
come
one.
up with a better system, though. They're severely overpriced as far as what they're charging. But
Yeah. I think they're just a little arrogant on that, though. I think they really
Sinclair is obviously arrogant.
Yeah, we've learned that with Anthem, So, but yeah, there you go, guys. That's an interesting topic too, because we're gonna find out more about this streaming stuff. It's gonna be more and more as we go on in the world of wrestling. It's gonna be really the big political field when it comes to the world of wrestling. But now let's move on, guys. That's all the quick hits we have for you this week. Of course, next week we'll have some other great wrestling news for you. But now we are about to jump into some WrestleMania 33 talk. We're going to give you all our predictions and all our thoughts on what's going to happen. And don't forget as well, later in this episode, we'll also be talking Impact Wrestling, along with crowning a Superstar of the Week. You don't want to miss a minute of that. But now let's talk some WrestleMania 33, guys.
There you go.
Alrighty, guys. Well, this is going to be a lot of fun because we actually finally get a chance to sit down and actually predict who we feel is going to win all these matches. Let's start off with the pre-show, though. We've got a big Andre the Giant Battle Royal with lots and lots of names, so I'm not going to run through all of them. But, of course, you got some of the ones that we really are thinking a lot about. Big Show, of course, you got Braun Strowman. You also got to throw in the fact that Mark Henry was just announced to be a part of this as well. And some other interesting names. But how do you guys feel this is going to shake down? I mean, there'll be some surprises, I'm sure, somewhere in this thing. Give me your thoughts on who could win this, and maybe some of your surprises you think could happen.
I'd certainly make sure to keep an eye on Sami Zayn as a sort of a dark horse, but Braun for sure is winning this. It should also be mentioned that WWE made the announcement that Tian Bing from China and the big NXT prospect from the Chinese crop of stars that they have is also going to be in this, so that's cool for him.
Yeah, I think watch out certainly for Sami Zayn, but I think Braun Strowman is your clear winner with the small amount of people that actually matter being in this thing. I think Tian Bing is kind of getting that Hideo Itami spot from years ago. He'll do something, but it's not going to, do much there. I want to mention that apparently Pete Gas has outed that there will officially be a season 2 of the Edge and Christian show on the network.
Ooh.
So, if you're a big fan of that show like I am, and like I think we all are, awesome to hear that we're having that show again.
And wouldn't I love to see Pete Gas show up in this Andre the Giant Battle Royal and win?
Yeah, there you go. Mean Street Coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we need to have that. They were supposed to show up in that Undertaker match last year, so maybe they'll show up for the... maybe Gallus and Anderson will show up for AJ, and then the Mean Street Posse show up for Shane. We just have a stable war happening.
That would be too sweet, if you ask me. But yeah, I'm really curious about this Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I think with you guys, Braun Strowman has to win this. It would, I guess be okay, not really, if he wasn't to win. But I think really it does him a lot more good to win this. And even though winning would be pretty spectacular too, just because none of us have really watched him. So. But yeah, let's jump into another one that's kind of interesting, and this is a pre-show match that I'm really disappointed this is a pre-show match. Paul has vehemently said how much he hates this. But yeah, the Cruiserweight Championship belt is up for grabs, and Neville will be facing off against Austin Aries. in this one. It just bums me out. But I'm looking forward to the match. I think the match is going to be really good. What do you think, Sean?
I'm not too bummed because I think this means we know for sure it's getting time. So that's good. And I'd rather be that than kind of be in the middle somewhere and people kind of forget about it and it is what it is. I think it's certainly not going to be the first match, though I think they're going to make sure there's people in the building to watch it. But we shouldn't really be surprised. They kind of treat the cruiserweights like crap at times, and this is kind of another showcase of that. But honestly, it's all WrestleMania, so it is what it is.
I don't know how much that argument has legs these days. Like, last year, I wasn't even in the building yet, and they had already started the pre-show, so hopefully they get those issues fixed for this year's. Especially
Aren't they only
if
promoting the pre-show as 1 hour this time, though? So
it starts at 4. That's Central.
It's gonna be 2 hours. That's what I've heard.
No.
I'm still hearing
they
2
were
as well.
promoting it at 6 Eastern, and then I guess they extended it or whatever. So
Well, the first hour is actually going to be on the network, and then the second hour, which I'm assuming is the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, possibly, or something else. I don't know. Maybe it is this Neville and Austin Aries match, but it's going to be on the USA Network. So that second hour of the pre-show will be available for you on the USA Network. But besides that, I don't know.
I mean, knowing them, I would think they would do the Battle Royal during that time just so that, Braun is looking strong all day, every day. Neville retains here, though, for sure. Like, I don't know if it's necessary to move the title off him, especially when he's probably still your hottest act in the division.
I think you certainly could have Austin Aries win. But again, like, you've obviously made Austin Aries kind of above and beyond the rest of your cruiserweights at this point, and the crowd sort of reciprocates that. I think you can have him chase Neville for a bit. Again, the instant gratification thing could certainly happen, but I think it kind of hurts Neville what you're doing with him and really trying to be this uber heel for the whole division.
Yeah, what was kind of funny is I thought we'd all disagree on this in some way, or at least two of us or one of us would have a change of thought process on this. I think Neville will win because of the fact of what Sean just said. He is the biggest heel. He's a guy that has gotten away with everything. And Austin Aries having this big run is excellent. It's good for him, but you also need to kind of humanize him a little bit, show that he is beatable. I would not surprise me, though, if he didn't get a rematch on Monday night, following WrestleMania and wins. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they do that instead of having him lose on the pre-show, or win on the pre-show. Maybe put him on a bigger stage and have him win. I think that would work, too. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm just saying that could be the thought process. But for WrestleMania, for myself, I'm picking Neville.
I mean, they do like to do those rematches on the Raw after, so.
It's true.
Let's actually talk about the WrestleMania 33 official card, not the pre-show, the actual card itself. Let's talk about the WWE Raw Tag Team titles, and they will be up for grabs in a ladder match, and that means Gallows and Anderson will be defending against Cesaro and Sheamus, along with Enzo Amore and Kaz. This is one that, honestly, you hear me talking week in and week out about how kind of boring I've been, or boring this, whole tag team championship round has been with the Raw group here. But I think that this is the final opportunity for Enzo and Cass to pull off something big and get that crowd excited. So that's the way I'm going to go. And I'm going to say they get their first tag team championship belts ever.
I think this is a tailor-made opener, too. You have the crowd get hot for Enzo and Big Cass, and they open with a big win in the ladder match, too. I think they get the Duke here, too, with Big Cass sort of walking a beat-up Enzo up the ladder so he can pull down the belts for whatever reason. But I'm really looking forward to the match. The build for this has been crappy, but I think these guys can pull off something fun here.
Yeah, I think the match is going to be better than we're expecting, and Paul knocked it out there. Enzo climbing up that ladder, or Cass taking him up the ladder to get the belt is perfect ending.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool, and I hope that it actually ends up being a good match. I'm a little bit nervous because like I said before, some of these guys have not been able to look great in this whole thing, so this could be a great opportunity. Let's talk about the fact that this WWE SmackDown Women's Championship belt is also going to be up for grabs, and this is going to be a 6-pack challenge. That's right. So Alexa Bliss is going to be taking on 5 other women, which will be Becky Lynch, Natalya, Carmella. She'll also have to face off against Naomi, who's returning, along with Mickie James. How do you feel about this, Sean?
This one's a bit tough because you've got all the former divas that could show up here. The Kelly Kellys, the Eve Torreses, could Lita show up? You've got Asuka could appear here. I mean, there's several. I feel like this might set the stage for Naomi to win again. Or you could have Mickie James win this. I think you could make a case for several of them. I don't think Alexa Bliss is going to walk out champion, though. I guess if I had to pick one, I'll say Naomi wins in the hometown.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but once they announced Naomi, I thought they said that being in the mat, like this was the set match. Like this was all it was going to be. This is it, right?
No, I don't think that they said it. I think they said that Naomi is added, and that was sort of it.
At any rate, even if they do add former divas, I don't think they'll just hotshot it to them with no build. After the reaction Naomi got on SmackDown, I think there's no question in the minds of people booking SmackDown that Naomi's walking out with this championship.
And yeah, you both picked Naomi. I'm going to go the other way, though. I think Alexa Bliss retains. I know maybe I'm the crazy man, maybe the odd man out here, but I think Naomi, it's a great story. It's a home crowd, but I've also loved the fact that you can also play off the fact maybe Naomi gets really close. Maybe she should win. And then out of nowhere, Alexa Bliss covers her 1, 2, 3. The crowd's disappointed, and that makes more heat for Alexa Bliss, and I like that. I think that's kind of a good thing. But Naomi winning would be a nice Disney fairy tale story, and you're right. They're by Disney World, so why not, right?
True.
Who knows?
True.
Kurt Angle will be over there. That's what we've heard. So, but yeah, so that's an interesting match. Now let's talk about the Raw Women's Championship match, and this is going to be a fatal 4-way. So you're having all these multi-women matches. Let's talk about the fact that Bayley will be defending her women's championship against Sasha Banks. And, of course, Charlotte, one of the big players here, along with Nia Jax. So this is going to be one that I think could be very interesting. I as much as I think it'd be kind of neat to see Bayley retain here, I think, honestly, we're going to find some way somehow for maybe Nia Jax walking out of this one. So I'm going to say Nia Jax finds a way to win.
Nia Jax would be out of left field, but I think the story is based around Sasha and Bayley here. I think you either have Sasha steal it or Bayley walks out champion again. This story has been so butchered that it's like Bayley shouldn't have won the title when she did, and she should have won the title here. And Charlotte should have never lost her pay-per-view streak until here either. But, WWE decided to do what they normally do, which is kind of screw all this up. So I feel like this is kind of set for Sasha to somehow take the belt, upset Bailey. That kind of gets things rolling with the Sasha Bailey. Or you could have Bailey win and Sasha turns on her the next night or something. At the end result is it's involving one of those two.
I'm picking Bailey. It should be mentioned that this is an elimination match too, so they're going to go out one at a time. Whoever gets pinned here and there. So I think Bailey wins. I think she pins Sasha. I think Sasha attacks her afterwards, complete the heel turn.
You know what? I completely forgot that it was an elimination match. I thought it was just straight up fatal 4-way. It makes no sense for my pick to happen then, because there's no way they're going to have this match take place either between Sasha and Nia or Bailey and Nia. So that sucks, because I was really wanting to pick Nia. I think your guys are right. The last two that have to be involved in this match have to be Sasha Banks and Bailey. You know what? I'll go Sasha Banks, though. For me personally, I think some way she cheats, she finds some way to really mess over Bailey, and that causes that fracture in their friendship. So I don't know. I'll go with Sasha Banks here, because I think me picking Alexa Bliss means that both women's champions can't win. So there you go. But still, a really interesting storyline. Even though it has not been great, honestly, leading up to Raw, I think now that we're at this point with the Fatal 4-Way, I think it got a little bit more interesting than it once was. If I could say it that way. Once before, we really couldn't say that. Let's talk about something else that's kind of interesting, and that is, of course, the WWE Intercontinental...
Hold on, what do you think about... I've seen a lot of people complain that adding Nia ruins the match completely, and now it's not going to be the great women's title match that it could have been because they added Nia.
Nia adds a very different element to the match that I'm interested in seeing. We've obviously seen Bailey, Sasha, and Charlotte in so many combinations with each other that I think you know what you're going to get. Nia puts a wrench in that, and especially with the way they booked her, I could see her maybe eliminating Charlotte, maybe, if they decide to go the other way with this, eliminating two of them or something like that and being down to the end. I don't think it makes the match worse. I think it makes it different, and having a larger person in there means you can probably do some crazier stuff because you have more room to land on, a larger person. Not to say Nia's fat or anything, but she is bigger. So
she's plus size. It's okay.
Exactly. She's plus size. I don't hate the addition.
I don't either. In fact, I was kind of pushing for it. At one point I thought they weren't going to add her, and I kind of felt disappointed about that. And now that they actually did, I think it's a good thing. I think right now at this moment, they're still all young in their career. And I think that you have other opportunities to actually do maybe that triple threat down the line where it's going to be even more impactful, because you got to think about it. Bailey's only been on this roster a year. So you haven't really given her the build-up time she needs. I think you do that match when she has more people behind her, when you have Charlotte being that, probably by this time, with the time period I'm talking about, Charlotte's already won the title 15 times. And then you have, of course, Sasha Banks involved. So I think all three need to be equal on the equal playing field. And I don't know if Bailey, even though she's the champion, I don't know right now she's still got the crowd behind her as much as that they need her to do that triple threat. So Nia Jax is a great addition. I think it adds something like Paul just said. So,
that's what's great about this crowd. You would expect that they will get behind Bailey the way you expect her to be gotten behind. Gary's not wrong, though. Charlotte doesn't win the title like 15 times in like 2 years or something. I'll be astonished.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. So it's interesting. It really is. And by the way, with this crowd too, Bailey will be major pops compared to what she gets on Raw. She'll get, the people will be chanting and they'll be singing her song, all that. So it's going to be a lot more fun. Let's talk about the WWE Intercontinental Championship title. That's right. Dean Ambrose will be defending it against Baron Corbin. And I don't know if this is one of the most exciting matches we're going to be talking about tonight, but I think it's one that's kind of interesting because you've got Baron Corbin, a guy that I think maybe they want to keep, going in the direction he's going and, winning. How do you feel it's going to all shake out, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the forklift incident, this has been some absolutely god-awful build. I am looking forward to the match, though. They have very similar styles. This could get pretty brawly in a match that doesn't, or in a show that doesn't have a ton of potential for awesome brawling action like this one does. And I'm not saying that there aren't other matches that aren't like this, because obviously there are, but I don't think you'll get one at this level that these guys could deliver. Whether they get the time to do that or not, I don't know, but this seems tailor-made for Baron Corbin to win.
Yeah, certainly totally tailor-made for Baron Corbin to win. Do we see a forklift in this match?
Probably not. I'm thinking a lot of ghetto special brawling on the outside.
Yeah, probably so.
I mean, you'd have to do a pretty contrived thing other than just going backstage to get the forklift involved, but just would be kind of funny if they tie it all in with that, honestly. But yeah, I think Baron Corbin wins. He looks strong here. He's the guy that they're obviously got going somewhere right now, and kudos to him again. I want to say that, look, he may not be all there is in the ring and all that stuff, but every time he goes on Talking Smack, he's gotten better promo-wise, and I feel like he's starting to become comfortable with himself. Not that he wasn't before, but he's starting to kind of come into his own kind of thing, and I feel like this year we could be talking about Baron Corbin really becoming something.
Well, that's interesting, and I think that, him winning this match, which I think I agree with you guys, he's going to win, could send him in that direction. This could propel him in a direction where he's talking about, more of a world title picture and not just an Intercontinental. So let's see. I mean, that's going to be kind of cool to find out. Well, let's talk about the United States Championship, though. This is, one that's on our list, and we will tell you if it's it when we review it, but it'll be, Chris Jericho walking in there and defending his title against Kevin Owens. And this has been a fun feud. This is one that I think all of us are kind of, looking forward to just because it's going to finally get its payoff. What do you think, Sean?
Well, it's certainly going to be better than the It movie that they're making. Or whatever,
I don't know. So. I have high hopes for that one. We'll see.
We'll see. Not a lot of people seem to be caring for it much right now. But, look, this is a match I'm actually really excited for because they actually have build to this match. Wow. What a worthy cause that you have build this match that's lasted for a large portion of the year. I think Kevin Owens is certainly winning, especially with Chris Jericho going on his little... It seems like he really is going to go on to with Fozzy this time. And even when he comes out and says that apparently he gets more workout doing a hour-and-a-half set with Fozzy than he does wrestling. So that's interesting. I think Kevin Owens, you want to have him look, after all the way he has looked, sort of in the build-up sometimes, I think this gets him a definitive win over the guy that's not his friend, is his friend. And you get him ready for some Finn Balor.
Yes, Kevin Owens wins, no doubt about it. We're 7 matches deep, including this one on the card. This is only the second one I've really cared about. That's not good, WWE. But this match should be all kinds of awesome.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think all of us picking, Kevin Owens is pretty evident in what's going to be happening and what's going to be taking place. I mean, I'm not saying that they couldn't, once again, I talked about it earlier in the show. I mean, maybe if they had Chris Jericho win, you have Kevin Owens, get another shot and win the next night on Raw, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to go ahead and have Kevin Owens win, and so we'll see. But I've really loved this whole build. I think it's been one of the most entertaining, at least out of all the ones we're kind of already talked about.
I mean, Jericho did win at WrestleMania last year. I think it's kind of... I mean, he's lost to Fandango at WrestleMania. Losing to Kevin Owens would not be bad at all.
Oh, no. Not at all. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. But I just think it just... it just makes sense or logical for Kevin Owens. But you're right. It would not hurt Jericho or anything. Let's talk about another match that could, have some gold involved, even if it's not, when it comes to a wrestling belt. So, John Cena and Nikki Bella facing off against Miz and Maurice. And we've loved the video packages that they've done. It's been awesome. There's been, some, controversy between these, two teams because of the fact of, really cutting close to the bone when it comes to their slams on each other. But Paul, I mean, how do you feel about it? Do you think this is going to be worth all that we've kind of seen?
I certainly hope so. The promos, the Total Bella parodies, there's been some not so good stuff, and the most recent stuff that's been really great. So that's sort of changed my tune on this. I don't know if I'm so much looking forward to it, but I'm excited to see what we get. And I think it's pretty obvious that Cena and Nikki are winning. Whether the marriage thing happens or not is sort of whatever for me. But for sure, the baby faces overcome the mean heels who, have said some not so nice things about their relationship.
Yeah, and I think you could definitely get a proposal here for the cameras. Doesn't mean that it actually really happens, but, I wouldn't put it past WWE to be like, hey, how much do we have to give you in a bonus for you guys to act like you're going to get engaged at WrestleMania? But again, it would go with what The Miz says, right? So, I think this match will certainly show its worth in a diamond by the time you are done watching it. So, it may not be good as far as... what's so funny is that for a couple, they really don't have a lot of on-screen chemistry with each other, right? Nikki and Cena. So, it's going to be sort of almost a comedy of errors to be able to watch them, see if they can finally get some cohesiveness going in the match, whereas Maurice and Miz feel more like a unit. So this is, it could be good, it could be really bad, or it could just kind of be there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one I think a lot of us kind of just already know walking into it how it's going to end up. So it may kind of bore us. But then again, I think that we could possibly get some things out of this that actually surprise us. Maybe Maurice showcases some talent that we haven't seen in a long time, or does something special, or maybe somehow, some way, Miz gets the better end of John Cena at times. Things like that to kind of add to this, but at the end, it's definitely going to be John Cena and Nikki Bella, and it kind of makes me sick to my stomach, but that's the way it works out. And, maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe Bruno Mars will come out and sing a 24 Karat song at, when they win. I don't know.
Right.
So.
Hey, what's wrong with that song? It's great.
Nothing. I'm saying It's good. Okay. No problems with it. No, Bruno Mars, no problems at all. In fact, we'll sponsor you if you'll sponsor us. But anyway, he's got plenty of money. He could throw some dimes our way.
I doubt that he cares at all about sponsor, but I will say, hey, his new album is really good. You should go check that out. Yeah.
Let's move on and talk about some non-sanctioned matches. How about that? And there's only one of them on this card, and that's Triple H versus Seth Rollins. And there are some rumors that this could be the last match, but, I don't know. I still think they're saving that for another one here. How do you feel like this is all going to shake out, though, Sean? I mean, there's all these rumors on added people, added things. What do you think is going to happen?
I think definitely you're going to see Mick Foley, and I think definitely you're going to see Samoa Joe. And you might see Stephanie. But Joe is definitely going to show up in this match at some point to kind of create a filter depending on how much Rollins is hurting. Let's see. Could The Rock show up in this? Because, we haven't heard a peep about The Rock this year, but he always shows up at WrestleMania at some point.
God, I hope not.
But I mean, I could certainly also see him just showing up during the concert thing too, or whatever. But, yeah, I mean, look, again, you don't want to have too much unless Rollins just not feeling it that day. But you still got to have him go out there because you've built this match or whatever. But he needs to win in some kind of decisive way. He needs to look good here because this is your one shot at getting this face turn right with Rollins. If you have too much overbooking, you run the risk of it going all the way down the toilet again. And then what do you do with them after that?
Great question. I don't know. For sure, Seth wins. I think there's not a lot to be gained. I think the other way around. I would most definitely add Finn Balor to this list. I think, and especially if this goes last, I think that would be a terrific way to pop the crowd, and then you could go into the go home from there, let them battle it out or whatever. But for sure, I think Finn Balor's in this too. So, but Seth, definitely the guy getting his hand raised.
Yeah, I think Seth Rollins too. I mean, they've been, pushing this out for so long. Of course, injury is why. You got to have Seth Rollins get the payoff. You got to get it done. That way he can fully heal up. That way he can get back to
They've been trying to do this match for like 2 years. You have to do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, if you don't, then that's just going to make the crowd not care anymore. They're going to be done with it. Wash their hands of it. I think, you bring up a good point about Finn Balor, Paul. I think he's a guy that I could definitely see involved in this match. Samoa Joe as well. Mick Foley would be kind of cool to kind of see him, show back up, pop up, which would bring out Stephanie. If it was going to be a bigger surprise, though, I mean, heck, it'd be kind of fun to see Rebby Sky come out and do something. Right?
The broken universe just suddenly shows up in the middle of the ring for no reason.
It shows up, it says, Stephanie,
do you think the Hardys might show up in that Raw Tag Team title match?
I don't.
There's ladders.
I don't think so.
Do you think they show up at WrestleMania at all?
No.
It would have to be the Monday. The Monday show would be the one I think they would show up to.
I think a moment like that for sure is tailor-made for a Raw audience. No doubt about it.
No. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But, it's going to be a lot of fun to see, what all surprises. Because this is one of those matches where definitely we could see a multitude of things. And, I think for the most part, though, we'll stay pretty clear of having too many people involved. Well, let's move on past this match, and let's actually talk about another match that is actually sanctioned. And this is one that I think we're all kind of interested in because of, all the different things surrounding it. But let's get into Shane McMahon versus AJ Styles. And this is a match that, I'm not sure a lot of us were sold on right away, but I think we're getting closer to really being intrigued on what could happen in this matchup, Paul.
Yeah, the booking for this has really sold me on it, especially for how well a job they've done with just 3 weeks of making me go from, gosh, why is this happening, to, man, this could be actually pretty cool. No doubt about it, I think this gets turned into a no-holds-barred match by Shane, either during the show or before the match or whatever. That way you could at least get Shane for what you want to see him for and not watching him try to wrestle one-on-one with AJ Styles. But I think AJ wins here, especially to help set up a bunch of challengers for the World Heavyweight title going forward. Him beating Shane, I think, does that.
No doubt AJ wins here. I think you need to also redeem him from losing to Jericho last year. AJ has proven that he carries your brand on SmackDown. Getting a great match out of Shane, but then winning would be terrific for him. And, let's see Shane jump off that double ring there.
Whew. You're talking really about killing this guy.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's a dead Shane.
Yeah. Oh, man. But, hey, I would, I'd definitely be sold on it if he did it.
Is it taller than that drop at SummerSlam with Steve Blackman?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't actually got my tape measure out, but it looks pretty scary.
You have to get a huge tape measure. I mean,
could you be standing there with a tape measure, just I think I got it. I think
I think we'd have to have like about
I'm out of tape measure, guys. Yeah.
We'd have to have several Garys to be able to measure that period.
I'd have to use Shaq's tape measure, you know.
Yeah, maybe.
But let's talk about another match that I think that, you know, Sean, you may be interested in because it's the Dead Man versus Roman Reigns, and one that, I mean, a lot of us are really curious to see, is Undertaker taking his second loss?
Well, you know, it is about the yard between these two. So
you think they paint the game a screen before they come out and do this one?
Yeah.
Bring out the Mexicools.
Right.
That'd be hilarious.
Just start mowing stuff randomly. All right. No, you could have Undertaker win conceivably here, especially if, say, Braun Strowman gets involved. But I think you had to have Roman win. I don't know how many more matches Undertaker has left in him. You got to have the young guy get a victory over him at least here, and I think Roman's the guy set up for that. I really hope with the way Roman, you've seen him have matches, you get something good out of this with Undertaker, and it's at least good to, you know, very good match, and, you know, the only thing is I would say don't have this be later in the show, because good luck trying to mute that crowd after that.
I don't know when this goes up on the show, and with Taker involved, you have to think it's going to go near the end. Maybe not, you know, third like we have it on our card preview here, but somewhere near the end for sure. I think Roman definitely goes over here, especially if you have any belief in the fact that they're going to do the one-year feud between Brock and Roman over on Raw. Roman beating Taker and having that same equalizing win over Brock and everything just makes a ton of sense and fits the story they want to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Paul. I look at that as being a big factor here. And not only that, you know, if this is Undertaker's last match, which a lot of people are saying it is, I mean, it just makes sense for him to put that, you know,
I feel like
torch
we've
over.
heard that for like the past 3 years. So
I agree with you 100%. My problem with it, though, is just it seems like this guy's body is just tapping out without him even having to do it himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fear here, is that he doesn't want to. I think he would like to go until forever, but I just don't know if he can. And Vince may not let him. So I look at this as being kind of like the AJ Styles Shane McMahon match. AJ is kind of an obvious win for me, and I think Roman Reigns has to be an obvious win here. And I think Undertaker wants to do the favors. So yeah, the one thing that I will say is it's good that they're doing this on the East Coast. That way it gets darker quicker. Because when they did this on the West Coast with The Undertaker, it didn't work out so well. It wasn't so creepy with the sunlight still bearing down on The Undertaker. So at least this time, it'll be dark.
right.
But, you know, we will see. I'm really looking forward to finding out, you know, actually how they are going to perceive this one. All right, well, you know, we've got the biggest matches to talk about now, some matches that involve the biggest titles that WB has to offer. I'm going to start with this one because I think really, honestly, it'll probably be the second to last match. The WWE World Heavyweight Championship title, and that is, of course, between Bray Wyatt and, you know, he'll be defending against Randy Orton. And, you know, I've been fighting myself on this because I can see it going many different ways, but you know what? I'm going to have faith they're going to do the right thing. I'm going to say Bray Wyatt wins. I think, to me personally, it's just the best way to keep Bray Wyatt looking strong. That's the way I'm going to go with it, Sean.
I want to believe Gary, but I just can't see any way where Randy Orton doesn't walk out champion, especially with Luke Harper having a match against Bray, and needing that vengeance. Now, I think the only wild card here is, again, Eric Rowan. Does he get involved in this? And does he help Wyatt keep the belt or whatever? And he becomes that guy that nobody saw coming, return, and that starts something between Rowan and Harper or whatever, or Rowan and Orton, or the whole thing, everybody gets involved. You could certainly push that for another couple of months or whatnot. So I don't think you're totally out of the realm of possibility. I just don't see Wyatt winning clean over Randy Orton.
If Randy Orton's to be believed, he wants to put Wyatt over, and all that good stuff. So I honestly don't know anymore. I'm sticking with Randy going over here too, though. It makes sense story-wise for him to get the comeuppance and for his plan to pay off, and you could keep the feud going after that if you wanted to, too. This doesn't necessarily have to be the end, although I would prefer it that way because, old school mindset for WrestleMania being the end of stuff. But I wouldn't sell Harper interfering short at all either, especially if it's just to come in and beat the crap out of both of them. Like, I would be totally behind that idea.
Yeah, I mean, that would be something that would be really positive, especially for Luke Harper. Make him look really strong and be a deciding factor even in this match. I think, even, with all that, takes place, I understand where people would think Randy Orton, and I think maybe you guys may be more right than I am, but I have to stick with Bray Wyatt. I've got to believe that they're going to put some stock in this guy eventually, because otherwise he's just a sad story. I think Bray Wyatt's better than that. Let's move on and talk about the last match that we've got to get into, and this one involves Brock Lesnar and Bill Goldberg. And Goldberg will be defending that, Universal Championship. I don't know. I think all of us have a lot of different thoughts on this because it could go one or two ways. We have our reasons for either guy winning. For me personally, though, Paul, I'm going to go ahead and say Brock Lesnar wins this match. I think Bill Goldberg gave it away. I think it will be a bloody match. But I think Brock Lesnar has to win here. I really, really do.
I tell you what, if we get blood in this, it would make sense. I think Brock wins here, too. If this match goes more than 5 minutes, I will be infinitely surprised.
I will be infinitely surprised as well if it goes more than 5 minutes. I think Gary hit it right on the head. Brock has to win. I don't think you can carry this on any longer. You have now done 3 pay-per-views with this. I think you have to have Brock win, end this, and start your deal with Roman if that's what you're going to do. Now, whether Goldberg decides to come back and you do something else with him, I don't think he has to be champion in order for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that is true as well. I mean, this one is just going to be so entertaining for the fact of, I think people are going to be, betting on how long it's going to take. People are going to be interested in seeing, how these guys, deal with their second chance at this. I think both Brock and Bill Goldberg really want a second chance at having this matchup, but, how is it actually going to work out? That's the big question. And I'm really, it's weird to say, but I am kind of excited about seeing it and seeing how they do handle things and what does go down here. But yeah, I mean, that's your WrestleMania 33 card. Hope everybody enjoyed, our, predictions and what we think is going to happen here. It should be, a pretty fun show. I think it'll be exciting, a lot more than I think we may give it credit for as we speak, at least. But let's move on from here, guys. We've got one last thing to do besides crowning a Superstar of the Week, and that is, of course, getting into some Impact Wrestling talk. Yeah, they had a TV taping this week, so let's go ahead and jump into that right now.
TNA Impact Wrestling.
All right, well, I'm going to have to cut the TNA part off of it, since they are Impact Wrestling. So Impact starts off with What do you know, guys? Karen Jarrett. Oh, boy. So Karen Jarrett, your authority figure, comes out here. She calls out Sienna and says that she is being a bully. So, after arguing, Karen starts a countdown to an apology for Sienna. Well, apparently Karen Jarrett knows him, but most people don't. Kevin Matthews comes out, called KM here. He apparently is Sienna's cousin, and he just screams and threatens Karen. I mean, a man threatening a woman, well, I guess it's, at least Karen's not cutting off people's balls, so that's something. The problem is the crowd doesn't give two craps about when Braxton, Sutter, and Allie come down to make the save, because KM gets all the way down to I think 7 or 6 seconds before he's gonna, I guess, do some kind of physical harm to Karen. I almost thought Jeff Jarrett might come out for a second. And then they brawl. No one cares. So we have a singles match tonight, which Karen makes, I guess, out of spite for what KM did. I thought the match was what it was. KM got to win with the powerbomb onto the knees, so that's good. The new guy wins.
Like I said, I'm all for this new talent initiative Impact Wrestling has. For me, Kevin Matthews, or KM, or whatever we're going to call him, didn't really do a whole lot for me. Because really, we didn't get a whole ton about him yet. We just know he's seeing his cousin, and he comes in and whoops Braxton Sutter, who I have zero investment in. All of this is on the women. I don't know why we didn't invest more into that here, but I guess it is what it is at this point. I'm willing to see where this goes, but I'm not really into the dudes portion of this.
I'm not really into dudes either, to be honest with you.
That's good to know, Gary.
I'm glad that you're not fronting for your wife there.
I know, right? Wasn't it funny? Even though sometimes
that would
the
be
way
shocking, Gary. That would be shocking.
Well, sometimes the way I look at Bray Wyatt, people consider that could be close. But anyway,
we all have our crushes, I guess.
Yeah, right. No, in all seriousness, I think Paul has a good point here. I think this is just a total mismatch. I don't even care about Braxton Sutter getting involved in this. It's like they tied this together because it's the latter, right? Well, this is tied to one thing, to it's tied to another, it's another rung of it's tied to. Just, my God, just leave Sutter out of this. Make it more of a transition than they gave you, at least if you're going to have this whole little matchup thing. I think this works out great because, the whole time Karen Jarrett feels like she's amazing. She comes out here and just is putting down, Sienna and all this. And for someone to step up to her was awesome. I ride with you, Sean. I really felt like Jeff Jarrett was going to come down too. But, this whole Braxton Sutter thing was dumb. And I'm kind of glad he lost the match. I think that really, honestly, they should stick with the women's portion of this. But I want to say this once again: we have Drunken Bride come out again. Thought we were done with that. Thought she was supposed to take a shower. Thought we were moving on. Besides that portion of this, that was bugged me worse. I was like, good God, please change this. That was the dumbest thing. It's still the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
I'm kind of okay with it just because Laurel had absolutely zero character, and now she's got this one, and I'm sort of interested, at least in this one.
Well, let me say this, Paul. Can we have Laurel be that screwed up individual, just not at the end of every Braxton Sutter and Allie match or segment? Can we just have her just be broken? If we can use that. I'm sorry, that's trademarked by Matt Hardy. Excuse me.
We can't do that.
Excuse me, not broken. Can we have her just disturbed? Can we use that one? Oh, no, that's trademarked too by a band, right? Can we have her in a mental capacity that is not well? Can we have her in that state and then just have her involved in other things? Make it a comedy. Have her come out when she's not supposed to come out. Things like that. That's fine with me. Just not this.
I don't think you want to try to make a joke out of mental issues. That seems like a bad direction to go in this day and age. Yeah, Eugene. I like the picture that she presents whenever she comes out in the messed up bridesmaid or the messed up wedding dress. Still, like it shows you she's holding on to that, and like there's a lot of character to be had in this, and it won't go away because we haven't had a match yet between Allie and them since ever. Whenever they do decide to pull the trigger on that and stop, kind of dancing around it.
Fair enough. I'm just done with it.
That's fair.
It's certainly fair. So, moving on from that, we get more stuff with the women before we get out of here. The JV calls out Rosemary, and she calls herself the greatest. She's beaten everybody. Well, ODB comes out of all people, and she says she is the 4-time knocked up champion. Well, all right, ODB. Unless you're Eric Young, I don't know who's going around wanting to knock you up, but that's neither here nor there. So, I think she made her point clear that apparently if it wasn't for people like ODB, Rosemary wouldn't be there. I think that's far from the truth there, ODB. You've been drinking a little bit too much. Madison Rayne comes out. You got Brandy Rhodes coming out. All the knockouts here. And we have a big brawl with the knockouts. And yeah. So I guess nothing got resolved.
Yeah, I will say this: you got to appreciate they're now involving everyone again, and you're getting some of the new faces. You're getting the picture of, hey, this is the tournament type thing where you can see everybody has an opportunity here, and that's why they're going to have that gauntlet match next week. So that's positive for that. But the rest of this is just kind of boring. I don't know. I just didn't find it overly entertaining. I mean, I get it. ODB had some points here. I mean, she did say that, like you said, Sean, that, the only reason, she can be here, Rosemary can be here is because of ODB, which could be the case. I mean, she's probably old enough to be Rosemary's mom. So you never know. She may have brought her into this world for all we know.
I know that she's that old.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Maybe she just looks that old, but the drinking doesn't help that. But anyway, I don't know. This is just not overly entertaining for me.
I'm into the Rosemary character. A lot of the supporting cast in the division, not so much, because they haven't been a focus of anything recently. So it's kind of hard. I guess outside of Brandy and everybody else, that's still left, because I could have said Jade, but Jade's no longer with the company. You don't have a lot to get invested in here yet. So a lot of work still ahead of them for the Knockouts division.
Yeah, certainly. It seems it's a restart here for the Knockouts, and gonna have to see what happens here. But they do have the X division have about a 4-minute match that I thought was good. I like what we got here between DJZ and Andrew Everett. I almost didn't recognize DJZ. He looked a little bit different there. Andrew Everett gets the win with a roll-up after countering the ZDT. And then Shane Helms and Trevor Lee come out. And, of course, they used to be in a former stable together. Shane Helms makes fun of Andrew Everett, and I guess we're supposed to care. But I like the match, though, and at least they're trying to do some kind of story here.
this is one of the few things they have left to tell a story with in the X Division, and I'm okay with that. I like the Andrew Everett, Trevor Lee matchup. If they get time, they could really put on something worth talking about. I don't know if it's going to save the division or anything, but certainly having great matches and trying to at least call back to what the X Division used to be about in that fashion would be a much-needed step up.
Yeah, I agree. And, well, looking at this, I mean, the match itself was pretty darn good. I really appreciated the effort that both DJZ and Everett put into it. I think, you're on point there, Paul. I think, you got Everett, who's, super talented. You got Lee, who, brings a similar but different component. And I think they'd have a great matchup. Heck, it's a match that should be sponsored by a shampoo company. I mean, it's wonderful. So.
Yeah. So we move on here from a X Division contest to, I'm sure this was a great segment from Paul's perspective. EC3 comes out here to discuss his former being undefeated, being the best, being champion twice. Now he's going to be a 3-time champ. But James Storm, the Cowboy, comes out and talks about old times and where EC3 was when James Storm was on the first pay-per-view ever by TNA with America's Most Wanted, all that stuff. EC3 does have a pretty funny line during that he was also drinking beer while James Storm was drinking beer with America's Most Wanted. James Storm wants one last go for the world title, and EC3 leaves it up to the fans. Okay.
Never before have I been in a more hit-or-miss segment than I am right now. I thought EC3 was fine here. It's not one of his better outings. It's a fine one, though. If James Storm is serious about this being his last call, so to speak, I'm okay with that, too. So if it gets him off my TV faster, that's really all I'm after.
Oh, man. Just as long as he takes Laurel with him. But I think to myself, every time I see EC3 now, I just think, man, I love him to death. I think he's excellent. But this new regime, they must have some beef with him. He's not as compelling as he was. He tried here. The biggest thing I think ruined it for me is he apologized to Karen Jarrett. And I think that they just really took me out of it. And after that, I kind of just
what's the point of having it come out last week if you're just going to be apologizing?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. Thank you, Sean. You sit there and you say, well, it's not about you, Karen. And then all of a sudden he's like, well, you got my emotions ahead. Come on, EC3. You're one of the most focused guys on this roster. You are very methodical. You're supposed to be one of the top talents that, has a game plan always. And then now you're saying, oh, I'm sorry, I screwed up. I forgot to bow down to the person that I needed to bow down to. And it just, come on. He's got so much potential. It's almost like that they're like, let's cool the jets on this guy. We have one of our guys we need to get to be at that point, I feel like he's cooling down when he needs to be heating up.
I'd agree with you. He kind of seems like he's just there right now.
Right. And I think it's just because they have a different story they're looking to tell right now, or maybe they're just looking to try to find their way into something solid. We haven't seen Lashley in a while. I'm assuming they're having to remake their world title right now, too, because it still says TNA on it real big. So, Lord knows.
Yeah, it takes a minute to get a new title made, Right, so yeah. that must be what's going on here. And, I don't know. Maybe I'm going too far. Maybe it's not the company not really believing, Jeff Jarrett and whoever the other officials that have that say in it. I really don't believe in EC3, but it's just so funny to me. One of the biggest names in this company prior to them coming in, all of a sudden does not seem like he's any bigger or better than Eli Drake, and that's not good, if you ask me personally. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a new rule in the locker room. Instead of shaking hands with people that come in, now it's about you got to walk by Karen and tell her how good she looks that day. That's your handshake for the day. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he doesn't do that often enough or something.
You never know with this company. Gary could be right, but so the build-up that they've been doing for this Moose and Cody Grand Championship title match here, I thought Moose, for the most part, got to showcase some big moves here. Moose wins the first round. Then you have Cody win the second round after he pulls out a chair, then Moose gets the chair, and then Cody pulls Brandy in the way, and he gets the figure 4 on Moose. And then Brandy gets pissed and slaps Cody, and they basically walks out on Cody Rhodes here. The match gets thrown out eventually, and they just brawl. And then there's a split decision, so Moose keeps the belt, I guess. Or I don't know what they decided to do here, but they just brawl for a while, and Moose keeps the belt anyway.
It is a split decision, which means that Moose just won the 2 rounds to 1, so he retains. I don't know. Because this obviously is just built to keep the feud going. The match, I think, overall was fine. I think I'd still much rather see them try to just go straight up one-on-one than have to deal with the Grand Championship rules, just because I don't think the style really benefits either of them overly to where you feel like I need to see this match again in that style,
I'm really surprised they kept that because it's a Billy Corrigan invention. I'm surprised that Jeff Jarrett hasn't tried to bring back the King of the Mountain title yet, so he can have that match again.
Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I think I'd rather even have that, and I'm not even a fan of the King of the Mountain title.
Oh God, I don't want the King of the Mountain thing is so annoying.
I just can't stand this Grand Championship stuff. I'm sorry. To me, it's almost pointless to even watch it. And I know I probably have just this nasty look at it. I don't find it appealing, and it always has the same formula, and it's just never.
It just doesn't work for wrestling.
It does. You're exactly right. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't.
It depends on the style of worker you have. I don't think TNA has any of the style of worker that really works with this anymore. Drew Galloway knew what to do with this. I would argue Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards could work a fine Grand Championship style match. Impact does not have a roster that is geared towards working towards the style. That's the problem here.
Well, I agree with you in that sense. I still think that I'm just not a big fan of the round thing, but
if you're looking to give it a chance, go watch Old World of Sport. I mean, you could at least see it done in a better fashion.
True, but I think when I don't know, Impact is so WWE light that I can't believe it in that fashion. If like New Japan was doing it, alright, I'm all for that. But I just Impact, I can't see it, Especially when you had like Damian Sandow going after the belt for he had the belt forever, and it's just like okay. And then now he's like nowhere to be seen. And I mean, look, I give credit for they're trying to build the belt around Moose and everything, and again they're showing that we're trying with the new talent initiative, and I give them credit for that. Just like, in the main event as well. But still, I don't know. It doesn't work right now. So, speaking of the main event here, you get LAX against Laredo Kid and Garza Jr. Decay. I mean, so wait, what was the point of... I thought they were having a tournament. And
are we trying to question how much logic TNA has? I don't know if they have any.
wait, so everybody just gets in the match, okay? I enjoyed this match for what it was, and LAX gets the win. So.
Yeah, I mean, what really is cool about this is they do that little video package where they have LAX all sitting around Conan, and he's telling them, they need to win. They need the titles. They need to win the tag team gold. They need to tell the girl, I forget her name, sorry.
Ortiz? I think.
Angel Ortiz? Yeah, telling her that she needs to beat Rosemary. And
or
win,
Angel Rose, I'm sorry.
Angel Rose, thank you. But yeah, I mean, so basically this is a mission for them. And for them to put that out there like that, and then for them to win this, it means something. And I'd like the fact that they did that. And of course, now with LAX, holding the tag team titles, I think it's a positive thing here. And I think it works. It gives you a direction that you, had not had. And it also adds to, the intrigue of, what they're going to do. What is LAX going to do just besides the tag team? So to me, it was not a bad ending of the show. I'm not a huge fan of just these giant multi-man matches, but I think for the most part, they did a pretty decent job with this one.
I enjoyed the match. I don't have a problem with these, especially with the style of worker you have in here, where it's sort of geared towards a lot of the guys that you have in the ring, maybe except Abyss. But even then, he had his moments where he got to look cool here too. So, I think any of these teams were a solid choice. You're trying to build them. I mean, obviously Decay's already established, but everybody else would have been a good choice too. These tag titles are being used to sort of launch these guys into a new stardom, and LAX seems like as good a place to start as any.
Right, yeah. Again, it proves that they're really getting behind the new talent and everything. I'm totally fine with that. And enjoyable match to end your Impact.
Yeah, so there you go, guys. Well, next week we'll have some more interesting stuff going on with Impact, but until then, we have to move on from that and talk about a Superstar of the Week. Yeah, that's right. We're going to crown one right after this, guys.
Superstar of the Week.
All right.
Well, we got 1 point heading over to AJ Styles.
AJ might not have done a whole ton on SmackDown, but myself and Gary actually both really enjoyed the promo. Thought it was great. It really added a whole lot of dynamic, I think, to the upcoming match they have at WrestleMania, which is what you wanted at that contract signing. So, hats off to AJ. Enjoy the point, bud.
Another former champion cannot be left off this list either. That's Mr. Kevin Owens with 2 points.
Continues he had the match with Sami Zayn. Continues to look awesome. I'm totally down with Kevin Owens at the moment.
For the last 2 weeks, this guy's been one of the better parts of SmackDown with 3 points, The Miz.
Yeah, I mean, he got points last week for Total Bellas. He got more points this week for Total Bellas just because I think these segments were better just because they had the harsh burns that had the internet all a titter. So, Miz, you earned these 3 points big time, bud.
We got 4 points heading over to the Hardys.
Oh, Paul, you watched the match.
I did. The Hardys defended against the Briscoes successfully. A match that went a little long, but it was actually one of the better matches of the week. So, hats off to the Hardys. They continue to do well without TNA, just like we all thought they would.
And last but not least, 5 points in our Superstars of the Week, LAX.
Hey, they won the tag titles on Impact in a pretty fun match. And, I mean, they had a little promo segment, too, where they looked interesting. So, they've been building them well. And, hey, props to Impact for giving them the title win here.
Yeah, so there you go. And I think, for the most part, they'll be getting some more points from us on probably a more regular basis. It would not surprise me at all, So it's kind of cool to also have a new name to be a part of our Superstar of the Week list. So that's really, really cool. We've had a lot of great things, going on there. But we are done for the night. We hope everybody has enjoyed our show. We've, of course, covered, some of the biggest things that will be taking place this weekend, which is Takeover Orlando and, of course, WrestleMania 33. If you want to know more about that and you want to hear us review those shows, make sure you don't miss a minute of the action. We'll be coming back, and on Saturday night we'll be talking Takeover Orlando, and Sunday night, of course, right after WrestleMania 33, we'll be jumping into that show as well and reviewing it and talking all about the crazy surprises, all the results, and everything that entails each of those shows. And then, of course, once we get to Monday, we'll also have our Monday show as usual. That'll, of course, be we'll be doing the Raw review, which will be super big this week. Plus, we'll also be doing our first part of episode 241. And so we've got a lot more to do this weekend. I'm super excited about this weekend. Trust me, guys, so much going on. Plus, don't forget, we're not going to do a show over the Hall of Fame, but you need to go check out the Hall of Fame. Don't forget that it's going to be on Friday night this year, not on Saturday. So make sure you go check it out and see all the cool things that will be taking place with the Hall of Fame.
And not to mention all the indie stuff that's going on this week too. Flow Slam, WWN Live, lots of cool places to check out independent wrestling this weekend too, if you're into that.
Exactly.
Oh, for sure. And will they be doing some live streaming of that stuff, Paul, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, all the shows that are on Flow Slam, or that are part of Flow Slam, Evolve, for example, they're all live. Progress is doing their pay-per-view on WWN Live. Shimmer, Chikara, Kaiju Big
Patrick
Battle.
Just got done with the Joey Janela show.
Right, which was the midnight show for this evening, and there was an Evolve show earlier today, too.
Wow. So that's awesome. That is super, super cool. So even if you can't be in Orlando, you can just do it at home. That is so awesome. So cool that they have that offered and available for everyone. So, hey, make sure you go sign up for any of those services that you want to go find all that great content happening this weekend. So there you go, guys. And, of course, don't forget to go check out W2Mnet.com. We'll, of course, have those roundtables for you guys for TakeOver Orlando and in WrestleMania 33, as well as some other great content that you're not going to want to miss out on. And once again, iTunes, go search us out. If you haven't rated and reviewed, go do that, as well as subscribe. All will help you. All will help us as well. We appreciate everyone who's already done it. And if you haven't, hey, just do us those little favors, and it just makes us feel better too. But besides that, we are done for the night. We thank you so much once again, and we will be seeing you guys on down the line. But until then, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all,
you know it.
Please, everybody.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.